Hey, what's up? Welcome to DGen Ed. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts, like the chart behind me, which is of AMC Entertainment, ticker symbol AMC. And so here I am recording this on Friday, July 19th, after the market has closed for the week, and AMC closed the week at a price of $5.01, being down about 1.75% on the day, but closing above $5 a share for not only the weekly but the monthly contract expiration. So I do think this is pretty good. But we have seen a little bit of a pullback over the past couple days, coming down on Thursday 5.9%, and now today with that 1.76% down day. But before I go over the chart here on this more recent time scale, I wanted to take a step back so we could look at some retracements following, this big move to the upside that we saw, because, a lot of people argue that technical analysis doesn't apply for squeeze stocks or squeeze plays. And, I think that we are looking at some really nice examples of how Fibonacci retracements can be used to predict bottoms and bounces. And so, I just wanted to go over some of these retracements here. And so this one is beginning with the low that was hit on April 16th. That was the all-time low at $2.38. And that goes up here to $11.88, which was the market hours high hit on May 14th. And so from there, we can see the 786 at a price of $4.41. We did retrace to that level, actually got a couple bounces from it, breaking below it just a little bit, but that did represent a pretty good dip buying opportunity coming down to 441. And following that, we have been making higher highs following the low that was hit on May 31st, which was at a price of $4.10. So breaking about 31 cents below that level, but really, just getting a couple closes below it and then breaking above the following day, or I should say the following month, because that was on a Friday when we closed below that level. And then on the first trading day of June, we broke above it. And, before I zoom into these retracements here, I did also want to point out this orange uptrend based on these two pivot lows. That might be retested in the future, but so far we have not yet tested that. And so I'm going to make the case that I don't think that we're going to be testing it based on the retracements that we've seen here. And so following that retracement to the downside, pulling back to the 786, breaking a little bit lower than that, hitting the low of 410 on May 31st. We moved up from there up to $5.96 on June 6th. And from that, you can see that we pulled back to the 786 yet again at $4.50, breaking below it a few days over here, coming down to a low of 433 on June 25th. But, we did more or less approximately bounce from that level, forming a higher low here. And so while this low was at 410, the low over here was at 433, and that is where I have this white uptrend drawn here that we may be retesting in perhaps the next week. So that is what I am thinking we will be doing. And so following this down move coming down to 433, I did another retracement going up to that 786, would be returning to a price of $5.61. We actually saw kind of a double top over here, hitting a high of 573 on July 8th, and then a high of 571 on July 17th, just this past week. So I do feel like that 786 was a good predictor, not just for a level to the downside, but also a level to the upside. And so now where are we at? We are about at the 50% retracement from going from the low at 433 up to that high of 573, pulling back down to 503, closing 2 cents below it today. So, it doesn't look that great, but maybe this is a fake out break, a fake out dip below that level. But what seems a little bit more likely to me is that we continue going down next week, perhaps finding a bottom at the golden pocket here, ranging from 482 up to about 487, or making another retracement to the 786, which would be at a price of 463. And that also does seem to intersect with that white uptrend, the higher lows that we have been forming. And that would intersect with that 786 around the 24th or the 25th of July, which is going to be Wednesday or Thursday, Friday being the 26th. Maybe over the course of the next week, we see a pullback of about 7 to 8% coming down to 463, maybe breaking below the 786 as we have in prior tests of it, as well as the one to the upside. So maybe price comes down to 460, but that ends up being the bottom and the next great dip buying opportunity before the next rally up, which could be a lower high as we have been seeing them, or maybe we see a breakout. And so looking at this big retracement that we've seen here, I can do another one to the downside, going from the high here of 1188 down to that low of 410, the lowest low that we saw following that pullback. And if we look at those levels that are marked to the penny, we can see that the 786 is at a price of $10.21.5, very similar to this blue line here that I have marked at $10.09. And if I take a step back, we can see what that line originates from, and that is actually a gap to the downside. The close on November 8th was at a price of $10.09, so that blue line there. And so we have left this gap to the upside that needs to be filled. And so that could correspond with a retracement to the 786 from the high here of 1188 coming down to that low of 410. That would correspond with a gap fill, although I should note that we have already filled that gap. It has been filled, but we didn't get much price action there. So maybe when we retrace to that level, we get some consolidation there, a bull flag, and a break above 1143, which was the pivot high from November 6th, a break above 1188, which was the market hours high on May 14th, or getting even higher. Other gaps to the upside going to around $19, $20 a share, or maybe even getting up into the 30s or 40s. But, it might take a couple months for such a move to play out. And so what I see with the chart for, the coming week is dip buying opportunities coming down to around 480 or 482, and then down to around 460 or 463. I think that will be the bottom, perhaps corresponding with 450 being this 786 here. Maybe we just kiss that level before taking off to move up to 10 or higher. But, those are just my thoughts. If you found them helpful, make sure you like the video, share your thoughts in the comments down below, and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thanks a lot for watching.